Alright, hey guys, Pax here. Welcome back to another Pokemon Pocket video. As the title states, I'm going to be going over the top 5 cards from Series A that aged poorly. These are cards that once had strong meta usage but got slowly phased out due to power creep and the game evolving overall. Before we get into this, I just want to quickly thank everybody who subscribed to my channel and is currently watching, because I really do appreciate it, especially the support of my previous top 5. I really do like making these videos. And yeah, with that being said, liking and subscribing really does help me out tremendously, not just analytically but also mentally. This keeps me doing this, and again, I really do enjoy doing this at the moment. And yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. So in the number 5 slot, we have Lycanroc Midnight Form. So this guy, man, yeah, he's top 5 for a reason. For one thing, he was only meta for pretty much just 1 month. Because, okay, look at this. Right, so this card came out in Celestial Guardians. The next month, the booster pack was Extra Dimensional Crisis, and Silvally came out. And I'm just going to pull up both cards right here just to look at them. They are very similar. So essentially, Silvally is a better version of Lycanroc, which kind of sucks because, I mean, just look at Lycanroc, man. This guy has aura. I really do like this art. I feel like for a non-full art for a non-EX, this is one of the best. I just really like the moon in the background and just like his menacing face. But looking at this, does base 50 damage. He can do 50 more if your opponent's active Pokemon has more remaining HP than this Pokemon. So he can do 100. Same thing with Silvally, but in my opinion, meeting Silvally's requirement to do 100 damage is a lot easier because all you have to do is use a supporter. And granted, you might get a bad hand using Silvally so that you can't get that 100 damage, especially towards the end game, especially if your opponent does end up Marsing you. But for Lycanroc, I feel like it's just harder in general because there's going to be a lot of situations where you're going to either be at the same level of HP as your opponent or slightly less. Because, yeah, keep in mind, if you have the same HP, then you're just doing 50 damage. Also, he can't 2-hit KO. That's the main issue, because Silvally in 2 turns can potentially do 200. This guy, there's going to be a lot of turns where you're only doing 150. Now, that's not good, especially since there are very bulky EXs. So let's say you're going against, like, I don't know, Guzzlord. Guzzlord's pretty meta. I'm just going to pull him up for reference. So first turn, you do 100 damage. He's going to be at 70 HP. Then in your opponent's turn, your opponent does use Grindcore, does 30. You're both at 70. And with that being said, because of that, Lycanroc will only do 50, and so Guzzlord can survive 1 more turn. And it's pretty rough because of that, I mean, yeah, Guzzlord is a nightmare, and there's a lot of EXs that are very tanky that are pretty scary, especially with the addition of like Lily. So like, if you do get him very low at that point, they can just Lily heal and then just mess you up, just one-shot this Lycanroc. Yeah, it's very awkward because there's gonna be a lot of situations because of this. You will be 3-hit KOing instead of 2-hit KOing. And on top of that, the main pairing for this Lycanroc back in the day was with Rampardos. And yeah, same thing with Silvally. A very common pairing with Silvally once he was released was also with Rampardos. But the thing with Silvally is that it's colorless. So the deck, Silvally archetype has evolved over time. Nowadays, like there's variations with baby Pokemon, Zeraora or Lucario, even Altaria. I've seen variations with that. So yeah, Silvally has a lot of potential and continues to evolve over time. But with Lycanroc, he's very limiting because of course he's just limited to fighting type. And currently, right now, yeah, the fighting type meta is pretty much dead. I feel like the best fighting type in general, the most consistent, is definitely Rampardos. But yeah, with that being said, Silvally is just generally just a better Lycanroc. And it really does suck, because 1 month, if they released Silvally 2 months later, that would have been fine. But yeah, dude, it's very unfortunate, because this guy had a potential to just be very menacing for at least 1 more month, but of course, I don't know, Dina just wanted to release Silvally as soon as possible, and yeah, kind of took his limelight. Pretty unfortunate. And yeah, Lycanroc Midnight Form was number 5. Going down to number 4, we have Dawn. Now, Dawn was a rather interesting card. I feel like most decks didn't really run Dawn back in the day. Sure, there were some niches. Like, I feel like Dawn was pretty good in Lightning decks, especially once Pikachu EX, the second version, his second coming, from Shining Revelry came out. Also with the introduction of Electrical Cord, this guy was very prominent in Lightning, the Lightning archetype. And guess what? A couple months ago, Elemental Switch came out, which is debatably a hands-down better version of Dawn. Since Elemental Switch is an item, you could pair that card with another supporter. So you can Elemental Switch and then Professor's Research, Mars, whatever you want, just pairing another supporter, which you can't do with Dawn, of course, because Dawn is a supporter, and you can only use 1 supporter per turn. But with that being said, yeah, basically, because of the introduction of Elemental Switch, Dawn is pretty much viable in only 5 out of the 3 color archetypes, excluding Dragon and Colorless. And it does suck because currently in the meta, the archetypes that are dominating it is Water and Lightning. Magneton and Greninja, huge meta prominence, and yeah, I can see that for the foreseeable future. Fire might have a resurgence as well because of Mega Blaziken. And with that being said, yeah, Elemental Switch works on, if you guys don't know, water, fire, and lightning decks. So yeah, down to slowly getting phased out. But again, I put this on number 4 because it is still viable in the 5 other color archetypes. But also comparing it to other supporter cards, I mean, yeah, when you're making a deck, let's say like in Darkness, like a Darktina deck, sure, you could use Dawn. But there are far better choices out there, like Guzma could definitely help you out. Sabrina messes up your opponent. Even Repel, it's not really supporter, but yeah, Repel exists to be a mini Sabrina. Cyrus, Mars, yeah, there's a lot better supporter cards in my opinion that could definitely help you out. It's actually been a while since I've seen a Darktina deck with Dawn. Like, I feel like you get a bit of value, but not that much. Like towards the early game, sure, but at the same time, Darktina is rather slow. The build up as well, and then if you think about Guzzlord, could help Guzzlord out as well, but at the same time, I mean, you do have Lusamine support with that Pokemon. You could argue that this card could be pretty good paired with Solvally, because this card activates the plus 50 damage, but at the same time, as I stated earlier, there are far better supporter cards that you could pair with Solvally that could just mess up your opponent. And yeah, with that being said, Dawn is in number 4. In number 3, we're continuing to go back in time, down to Pokemon Pocket release timeline, and yeah, number 3, we have Druddigon. He was released in Mythical Islands, and this guy was in a lot of decks back in the day. He was essentially a wall. Just looking at his stats, okay, yeah, he was essentially a wall because of his ability, but his attack, even back in the day, was abysmal. Like, look at this requirement. Nowadays, it's a lot easier because of baby Pokemon, but before, back then, you're only running him because of his ability. Just basically, yeah, he's in the active, and then your bench just gets built. You just start feeding your bench, evolve them. Keep in mind, back in the day, you didn't have rare candies, especially during the time this guy was prominent. And yeah, with that being said, building up was rather slow because you just have to manually evolve Pokemon. You have to go stage 1, stage 2. Back then, a common pairing with Druddigon was with Weavile EX and Darkrai EX. Very good synergy because Weavile EX can do 70 damage if your opponent's active is damaged. So because of Druddigon's ability, it had pretty good synergy with Weavile since it activates that damage. Same thing with Darkrai. I mean, using Darkrai's ability also synergizes well with Weavile. Overall, a very good deck because if you have 2 Druddigons out, one in your active, one in your bench, there's really nothing your opponent can do. If they Sabrina, then you just sub in the other Druddigon. So it was a very good stall tactic, but that was back in the day when the game was a lot slower paced. Nowadays, it's a lot faster, and just looking at certain decks like Darktina kind of counters this because a little bit ironic since Darkrai is in that deck, but yeah, Darktina, that deck focuses on just chipping your opponent and just one-shotting them with either Darkrai or Giratina, and they can very much one-shot Druddigon, just yeah, flat out like that. There are also other decks like Shining Revelry Charizard, where you're basically getting hardly any value with Druddigon. This Charizard can just get out, do 150, absolutely demolishing this Pokemon. Taking 20 damage, yeah, granted, that happens, but Lily exists, especially when this Charizard specifically rose into prominence. Lily was in the game, so it doesn't matter, dude. That 20 damage is pretty much trivial. And then yeah, the current meta, from the time I'm recording this, I mean, Greninja Cyrus combo is pretty huge. So again, it's very easy to just bypass it to start poking on your opponent's bench. And on top of that, they release a much better version of this card. It's basically a card that does Druddigon's ability, but a lot better. Like, look at this meme. It's basically this meme. I'm just gonna make it. Yeah, that's basically the situation right here. Yeah, so of course, as you can see, Zangoose, a lot better. Slightly less tanky. It does have 20 less HP, but unlike Druddigon, this guy can attack. It's a lot easier for this guy to attack. Granted, he does less damage, but he's colorless. So you can essentially run this guy in a lot of decks. Has better synergy because, yeah, Druddigon was running a lot of color archetypes, but he wasn't attacking because, yeah, the energy requirement was abysmal. But for Zangoose, a lot better. Easier to retreat as well, just having 1 retreat value. But yeah, that's Druddigon. Yeah, I remember this guy being absolutely just huge. Like, honestly, unironically, one of the most used dragon types at that time. I mean, before then, I mean, the only real kind of fun dragon type card that was viable was Dragonite, non-EX Dragonite, and he still sees a little bit of viability today. Like, it's a lot of RNG, but still pretty fun. That card will always have a special part in my heart. I remember people would pair Rocky Helmet with Druddigon, and it would just, yeah, it was huge, dude. You could potentially do 60 damage just because of chip damage. So 20 from Darkrai, 20 from Druddigon, and 20 from Rocky Helmet. You would leave your Druddigon, sub him out, and then either sub in Weavile EX or Darkrai EX and just demolish your opponent. That was a very fun archetype. But yeah, that was number 3. Number 2, going back one more month, we have Genetic Apex Charizard EX. Yeah, this card was he was the fire type for a long time. And in my opinion, he was one of the most satisfying Pokemon to use because, yeah, just look at him, dude. His damage, 200 damage, completely one-shotting most EXs. Yeah, a lot of fun. Of course, his most common pairing was with Moltres EX. just insane, because ideally how that playstyle works, if you guys don't know, you would have Moltres in your active early game to feed your Charmander and eventual Charizard in your bench, and by the time Charizard gets out, if the Pokemon has at least 5 or 6 energy attached, it's basically GG. He's like Exodia, man. Your opponent really can't do much. This Charizard is doing 200 damage 2 to 3 turns in a row. So if you have 5 energy, 2 turns in a row, 3 energy, 3 turns in a row. And depending on your opponent's deck, if they have at least 1 EX that you can just one-shot, this guy only has to attack twice pretty much. So a lot of fun, man. Yeah, I have fond memories with this guy. I pretty much used them up until rare candies were introduced, because with the introduction of rare candies, Shining Revelry Charizard EX became a lot better. And yeah, speaking of that Charizard, let's just take a quick look at him right here. So when this card first came out, he wasn't that great. I remember that meta very fondly. In ranked, I've never seen this guy. Maybe it's just me, but I played a lot of ranked games at that time, and I never saw a single Shining Revelry Charizard. It was all a genetic Apex, because Shining Revelry pre-rare candy, it just took too long to build him up. So first of all, you have to manually build him, so evolve into Charmeleon and eventually Charizard EX, and then once you get into that Charizard EX form, you have to wait one more turn because you have to use Stoke, and depending on your RNG, by then, this Charizard might be dead. Because this is, again, keep in mind, this is before rare candy as well as Lily. So by then, depending on your RNG, once this guy's fully built, he might be at like 40 HP, 30 HP, like very low. So like you will get value that turn, one-shotting your opponent. But next turn, by then your opponent probably has their backline already built, and they can just one-shot you. So yeah, running this guy wasn't really worth it at that time. But with the introduction of rare candies, because of rare candies, you could just do 150 damage your third turn. Granted, it does seem rather long, but at the same time, I mean, your second turn, your opponent's really not doing as much damage. Unless they get super lucky, let's say like a Misty Articuno or like Misty freaking, let's get like the best RNG and just like one-shot you with Palkia. But most of the time, if this guy's in your active, if you went first, then you should be rather safe. And again, once you evolve, Lily's there to heal you up a little bit. And then once he's out, he just demolishes. I feel like rare candy affected Shining Revelry Charizard the most, because other stage 2s, like they were good. Like say Greninja, he was good. Like you have to kind of build him up slowly in the bench. Like he was still kind of viable. But for this guy, he went from absolute shit to just amazing. So with that being said, yeah, dude, it's a huge kind of a passing of a torch moment from Genetic Apex Charizard to Shining Revelry. And when it comes to Moltres EX and Charizard EX pairing, you could still say like it is kind of a little bit viable. Like this guy can still one-shot Shining Revelry, but there's a lot of counters. And for one thing, this game is a lot more faster paced. And in my opinion, Moltres is a huge liability. This guy, for one thing, his ability Inferno Dance, it's all RNG. So if you guys don't know how it works, you flip 3 coins, and each heads is equivalent to 1 energy that you can give your bench Pokemon. So let's say like you get 3 heads, you get 3 energy, 2 heads, 2 energy. If you get 3 tails, you get nothing. And there's been a lot of times, this is why I hate Moltres, man. Sometimes he's more useful in your belly than on the field, because there have been times where he just sells. I'm just gonna put this into the... Yeah, just for reference, I'm just gonna put this in the description. I converted this into YouTube short, but there was one time where this guy got me tails 9 times in a row. So first turn, I used them 3 tails. Next turn, 3 tails. Third turn, just 3 tails. And I'm like, dude, I started salivating, man. I looked at him as like fried chicken because I was actually super hungry at the time. And I was like, dude, if they ever make a Pokemon themed amusement park, they better have fried Moltres, dude. I'll definitely go if they have fried Moltres. But yeah, just on top of that, the RNG aspect, this game is a lot faster paced. Keep in mind, Silvally can 2-hit KO Moltres. And depending on your RNG, if you get pretty bad RNG, Charizard EX, Genetic Apex, will just have his pants down, dude. If he has like 3 or even 4 energy attached, you're gonna have a hard time dealing with your opponent. And yeah, of course, in this meta, you have Oricorio. So if you use just like a pure Moltres and Charizard EX deck, if your opponent pulls a Moltres out, there's nothing you can do. Just really, at that point, either concede just to save everyone time, or just spend the next like 10 to 15 minutes just being depressed, just watching that Oricorio slowly chip down your Pokemon. Which is why if you do want to run a Moltres and Charizard EX deck, you probably want to pair a non-EX card that you could use to counter Oricorio, but at the same time, that's going to be a huge inconvenience, because for that deck, you just want to focus on building Charizard EX, and if your opponent has the Oricorio, then you have to like kind of have to jump through extra hurdles. Whereas for Shining Revelry, he doesn't need a Moltres. He is self-sufficient, just giving himself energy, so it's a lot easier to deal with Oricorio using Shining Revelry compared to Genetic Apex Charizard. And yeah, that is the number 2, and it really does suck, man. This guy will, same thing with Dragonite, he'll always have a special part of my heart, because this was basically my first deck in this game. Like my first good deck was Charizard EX. Second one was Articuno, Starmie. Shout out to people who remember that. But yeah, that was number 2. And before we get into number 1, I just want to quickly mention some honorable mentions. So the first honorable mention is Dialga EX. This guy was pretty good when he first came out. This card was very good for building up your backline. So yeah, for one thing, he is rather tanky. And at the same time, after getting 2 energy, you can start attaching energy to your bench. And then in a couple turns, you can just do 100 damage just attacking. So yeah, this guy is good because it kind of saves your bench from chip damage. So yeah, it was pretty good. I remember when this guy first came out, I ran this guy with Skarmory and Mew EX. Mew EX, I'm just going to pull him up, very obscure at this point of the game. But this guy had a lot of potential. So Dialga works best with cards that require 3 energy because yeah, you would attack 2 energy, and then next turn if you want to switch out, the Pokemon that you fed is just fully built. So that's very good. And looking at Mew EX, he is very situational. Granted, yeah, it's very conditional depending on your opponent's Pokemon, but in this meta, when Dialga first came out, Palkia was pretty huge. And looking at this, Mew EX can just copy Palkia's moveset. So you can just use, like, let's say like Palkia EX's attack and attack. It was very satisfying. I feel like this is one of the most satisfying cards. Same thing with Charizard EX. So let's say your opponent has a Charizard EX out. Mew can just copy his ability, bypassing his attack limitations, like having to discard 2 energy. Yeah, he can just bypass that and just one-shot Charizard. So very fun, but again, very situational. But at the same time, the next month, Triumphant Light, Arceus came out. Arceus being colorless was amazing because he can just get fed, and then once Arceus gets out, doing 130, one-shotting a lot of Pokemon, and just being an absolute GOAT overall. However, nowadays, of course, he kind of got slowly phased out the meta because of how fast-paced this game is. And to put the nail in the coffin, they added baby Pokemon. So it kind of sucks because, I mean, currently when I'm recording this, Arceus is having a resurgence, and a huge pairing with him are baby Pokemon. And yeah, it kind of sucks to see, man. Dude, Dialga is just like, he's in his apartment, just depressed out of his mind, looking at Arceus and being like, man, we used to be so good together. But yeah, it's pretty unfortunate. Another honorable mention is Sudowoodo. This guy came out in the same booster pack as Arceus EX. So yeah, Triumphant Light. And this guy was a huge hard counter to Arceus. There's a lot of memes about it. It was kind of funny, but yeah, this guy was just Arceus' worst nightmare, pre-Oricorio, of course. So for one thing, this guy primarily focuses on EXs, doing 50 base damage to EX Pokemon. But to Arceus specifically, he can do 130. 2-hit KOing the Arceus, definitely. And yeah, 130 damage. If you guys are curious, 50 damage, just flat out. Plus 20 if you use red. Plus 20 from type advantage. Plus 40 if you have 2 non-EX Lucarios out in your bench. And during that time, the most popular deck with Sudowoodo was Sudowoodo, Marshadow, and non-EX Lucario. And yeah, overall that deck was pretty much a huge hard counter to Arceus. Because let's say like Arceus can one-shot Sudowoodo. Next turn, depending on your RNG, you should have Marshadow built. Marshadow does 120 to Arceus. So if Sudowoodo attacks once, then yeah, it's GG. And I feel like this might have been, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it might have been the first super viable non-EX deck. There's like a fully non-EX deck that just like absolutely demolishes the meta. And yeah, very fun overall. But currently, flash forwarding to the current state of the game, Sudowoodo essentially got insanely power crept. So I mean, for one thing, they got better cards that are far more consistent and have a lot more viability in my opinion. Of course, like for one thing, Meowscarada kind of got phased out of the meta as well, but at the same time, once that Pokemon came out, just doing 120 damage to EXs was pretty huge. And on top of that, kind of a spiritual successor in a sense, Oricorio, because Sudowoodo, he might have given a lot of EX Pokemon, specifically, again, Arceus EX, nightmares, but Oricorio is the nightmare bird. This guy is currently in the game. It's very, once he's out and you're running EXs, you have to work around it. And there's a lot of times where like you just really can't. And again, if you're running something like Moltres EX, Charizard EX, again, a very old deck, there's nothing you could do. He's essentially a wall. And yeah, moving on to my last honorable mention. Speaking of the devil, Oricorio. Yeah, Oricorio the Nightmare Bird right here. Yeah, he's gone phased out the meta. It's a good thing in the game. EXs are really thriving. They're really just in the streets right now, just like praising, just singing, just psalms of wisdom. I have no idea where this is going. Yeah, that's nice. But jokes aside, I feel like this guy is like one card away from being on this list. Because if they add a card that negates abilities, that's bad for this card because his ability is what makes him the Nightmare Bird. I refer to him as a Nightmare Bird because against EXs, it's the worst nightmare. Imagine if they add like a supporter card that says like negate all your opponent's abilities, or even like, on top of that, Poketools as well. That would be huge. Or if they add a Poketool itself, let's say this Poketool is attached to a Pokemon, it's unaffected by abilities. Rest in peace, Lucario. Especially if it's a Poketool or supporter. If it's a Pokemon, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate, but it's not as grand as a supporter or a Poketool. But I feel like that will have a huge just impact in the game. It will be very similar to the introduction of rare candies, just like kind of revolutionizing how you play the game. And again, one card away. One card away of just being slightly less of a nightmare. All right, here we go. Number 1, place your bets on what it will be. This card was pretty huge back in the day, but currently I really see no usage whatsoever using this guy. Like, the only reason why you're using this is because you don't have the newer cards. I feel that's the only reason why you'd run this card. And with that being said, I'm just gonna reveal it. Number 1 is Manaphy. This guy was pretty much the heart from when water type was just absolutely dominant back in the day. Before the dark times. Up until, of course, when Suicune was revealed, this kind of changed everything, especially also baby Pokemon. We'll get there when we get there. I'll definitely mention them, but Manaphy came out during Space-Time Smackdown, and once he came out, a very strong water deck was this card paired with Gyarados EX, as well as Origin and Form Palkia. That pairing was insane, and I mean, there's also other pairings like you could pair this with Starmie as well as Articuno EX, Palkia EX as well. But I feel like this deck at its prime, at its like peak, was paired with Gyarados and Origin from Palkia because in my opinion, it had this amazing synergy altogether, and I feel it's pretty much a must run for water decks at the time. Very similar to Misty, but again, for Misty, very inconsistent. She could win you the game turn 1 or just do jack shit. Like, it's really 50-50 literally. But for Manaphy, it was far more consistent. But as time goes on, of course, water type did get slowly phased out in the meta, and currently there's a resurgence. But guess what? Mantyke exists, baby Pokemon exists, and basically does Manaphy's job, but a lot better. Sure, you could say that baby Pokemon are more of a liability since Manaphy, despite not having that much HP, has 20 more HP than baby Pokemon. But at the same time, running babies, it's far more, specifically Mantyke, it's far more consistent. Because for one thing, of course, using Mantyke, you can use him your first turn. If you get Manaphy out your first turn, you have to feed him 1 energy to use his attack ability, of course. And I mean, granted, you could do it if you Misty, but at that point, you might have better luck just Mistying one of your bench. Because let's say you do Misty your Manaphy, and you get, I don't know, Misty just feels generous that day. You get like 5 heads in a row. That's pretty much useless for that Manaphy. I mean, like, you pretty much wasted 4 energy there. I mean, granted, it is a bit of RNG, but at that point, if you fed like, let's say like your Gyarados or like your Magikarp in your bench, you can just get him out fully built. But it really depends on your deck. Like, let's say you are running Vaporeon, non-X Vaporeon. I'm just gonna pull him up right here. Very old card yet again, but once again referencing the previous meta, this guy was essentially, he was able to transfer energy from your bench Pokemon to your active. Very good for maximizing your energy overall. But overall, I mean, in my opinion, it's just not worth it currently running Manaphy. I mean, running Manaphy turn 1, like going first, you aren't really getting much value. You could, but it's really not worth it in my opinion. Whereas for baby Pokemon, of course, Mantyke, this card can just attack, or quote-unquote attack, and then just feed your bench. You may argue that Manaphy gets more value going second, but I feel like you're wrong if you do think that, because Mantyke does the exact same thing. So let's say you go second, you get an energy already. So if you run Manaphy, you have to feed that energy to Manaphy. But if you're running Mantyke, you can just feed one of your bench, use Mantyke's ability, and then just feed your other Pokemon. So you're getting the exact same value running Manaphy. But for Mantyke's far more superior because, of course, if you go second, you can feed 2 energy to your bench. Just flat out do that. Next turn, sub him out with his free retreat. And then if your bench Pokemon is built to start attacking, I probably should have mentioned this when I mentioned Dialga EX, but the same thing with Dialga. Because, it's a lot faster pace. You don't really have to build him out manually. But looking at Manaphy's attack ability, you can only feed 1 energy to each of your bench. So 1 energy is the 2. You can't feed 1 bench 2 energy. And that was the top 5 video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully it made sense. I'm still working on my public speaking skills. Like I really do suck at speaking, but I'm slowly improving over time. It's taken several decades, but Also, hopefully you guys enjoy kind of this like free form talk kind of format. I enjoy doing videos like this where like I'm not really reading from a script. I'm looking at notes, and I'm just looking at my notes and just talking at my own pace pretty much. It's like non-scripted, just like perceiving notes and then just talking, doing my thing. Hopefully you guys like that kind of casual-esque vibe. And again, just to reiterate, I really do appreciate all the support. My last top 5, it's just hands down my most successful video on my channel. And if you guys like that video, especially this video as well, I'll definitely be making more because this is pretty fun. I really do enjoy this, and I am very passionate with YouTube, just video content creating overall, as well as this game. A love and hate relationship with this game. I'm sure most of you can relate, especially in ranked. Yeah, ranked is you're gonna have a fun time. Ranked is yeah, very fun. Yeah, let's leave it like that. But yeah, that's the video, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Peace.